Welcome back to mechaNORN. This is something new we're trying. It's called mechaNORN, which is basically a compilation of all the mech shows of the season. And right now we have Cross Ange, Gundam Build Fight TRY, and Gundam G no Reconguista. So we're trying to throw all these shows in one little I guess segment. That way you can get all three at once, and we even put a timestamp in later where you can just skip if you don't want to watch or listen to certain shows you're not following. But I have Jera with me.
As a good friend of mine would say, launching.
Yeah, I was waiting for that. Like, we need that for this. I mean, mechs after all. But
Hmm.
yeah, this came about when I was just thinking because, I didn't want to do, three separate posts every week on all these mech shows.
Yeah.
It's just like, it's kind of, why not just put it all in one, like we did
Hmm.
with the Metafab. So, I mean, it makes it easy. I think some people probably won't like it as much, but, like I said, we'll put timestamps in. You can just skip
Yeah, if
certain
there's one
parts.
thing that we've learned over the years of posting on mechaNORN that people aren't a fan of, that's mecha. But we're going to throw it in their face anyway.
Yeah, yeah, I was like, you know what? I want to talk about these shows. I love them. I like
Hmm.
giant
Yeah.
robots, and it's just fun to talk about every week. And starting, I guess we're gonna go from typical like kind of meh shows that we're still not filling, but they're entertaining, to maybe the more exciting shows at the later end. But we're gonna start with Cross Ange episode 2. It's came out maybe a couple hours ago. The
Hmm.
title was Unyielding Spirit, and it's basically the rundown of that is basically Angie kind of getting used to this new life. It's kind of like a prison, and these girls are kind of forced to be these pilots you saw in the first episode. So yeah, what do you think about like her just I don't know getting used to the their situation she's in?
It was pretty expected of a girl who had been very spoiled by living the life of a princess in a magic town where everything is quote unquote great, and adjusting to new people and having a very snooty attitude, looking down her nose kind of at these people, still sort of denying that she has a Norma in her.
Right, yeah. And I watched the first episode, like I rewatched it, and there's a scene where her dad or her father or king, whatever, is messing with the machine, and I'm gonna just speculate that she's probably been a Norma the entire time. And since, like you said, she's been brought up in the castle and everything, she hasn't really used her magic for herself.
Hmm.
I mean, she had no need to. She had a maid that did it for her. So it's like, I could see it being she was a Norma the entire time.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, her adjusting to this new life is like, she's gotta adjust real fast because these girls aren't looking to make friends. They're all kind of in it for their own self. There's like, I guess kill or be killed in this world because it's like, like again,
Hmm.
they're in the end they're prisoners basically.
Yeah, and because of that, so far, none of the characters I find really likable. I think they're just it's a lot of mean girls annoyed at each other, and you really see that with like Zola, who is sort of the head honcho, almost kind of a sort of a bully like in a sense.
Oh yeah, very very bully, and we'll talk about her a little bit later. But yeah, she's very very aggressive to these girls. But there's a few girls that kind of flock to her to Angie when she's doing the training. I guess she kind of realized that I guess the sport she played in I don't know, I guess she went to school or whatever.
I don't know, it's like Quidditch or something in that world.
Yeah, it's weird. It's like jet ski Quidditch thing. It's very strange. But she realizes the controls for that are the same as the robot she's piloting in the VR simulator, and she kind of picks it up real fast. And I kind of figured that I'm like, well, you can't have a main character struggling for 10 episodes to pilot, so you gotta kind of kick her in that. So I think that's why they put the whole sport thing in there for her.
Hmm. Yeah.
And yeah, like I said, these two girls kind of, I guess, are new like her. They flock to her, and they're Miranda and Coco. And these two girls kind of idolize her. I guess they kind of look up to her, like, oh, you're so talented and pretty and all this. And
Hmm.
to me, I seen that scene, I was like, they're probably, I think most characters probably have a dark side to them. I think all of them probably do. They're just cute on the outside, but yeah.
Hmm. Yeah. Excuse me. I kind of looked at that as like death flag in
Oh
that scene
yeah.
because I mentioned how the girls were all unlikable, where there's these two sort of rays of hope shining upon the series with some nice sort of young girls that don't really have a very detailed look to them. If you kind of look at some Sunrise series where girls that that don't have a very detailed animation
Mm-hmm.
or a specific hair color like these two girls, kind of nondescript. Um, I
Right,
kind of
yeah.
it's a thing that I kind of feel like with the first two episodes so far is that you can really see through it easily. You can see a lot of things coming.
Right, you can see who's the next target, basically, because like you said,
Hmm.
the characters that aren't as, out in the open as other characters are probably gonna die in this series.
Yeah.
And, but that's Sunrise, you always kind of play that card. And yeah, but these girls show kind of kindness to her, but even they kind of help her. She gets bullied at the cafeteria, and other girls steal her food and everything. And one of these new girls offers her pudding to Angie, and she kind of later on throws it away. Like, you can tell she doesn't give
Yeah.
a crap at all about any of these people. So in the
Hmm.
in the end, she's kind of not any different than these girls that are looking out for themselves. They don't really care about making friends or anything, which is, I kind of like that about the series because you know I don't know if you saw Buddy Complex, but that was more about like a friendship between two characters that
Hmm.
didn't know each other, and Cross Ange is the exact opposite for me anyway.
Oh yeah. Oh, okay.
I kind of like that Ange, she's not gonna be a person that's gonna be gullible and trust everyone. I mean, she did in the beginning, but
Hmm.
we see how much that goes.
Yeah,
But
she's very much self-involved and in
yeah,
a state of denial right now, so it's gonna take a while to break the ice on her.
yeah, and eventually they get their first mission. They have to go out and fight. But before then, yeah, Zola kind of gets a hold of Angie for a little bit, and another almost rape scene for her. And we did see the beginning. She's kind of got her harem. Zola's got her girls that she kind of
Yeah.
hooks up with. I guess the redhead might be her main love interest.
Hmm. Although it kind of seems like maybe she goes around to other people. She just takes whatever flavor she wants that day.
Right, yeah, it's pretty much, I mean, like I said, a prison in the end that but Zola's got kind of free range. She can pick and choose who she wants, and like you
Hmm.
said, because she was kind of with the redhead, and she was like, I'm not satisfied. She just
Yeah.
went for Angie, which is, the new piece ass. That's what she wants.
Hmm.
And, yeah, so we get the first actual battle scene, which I don't really what they call a battle scene, I guess.
Yeah.
Because,
Sort of the
yeah,
first launching of the mechs.
right, yeah, it was. And the whole time I'm thinking, is Angie gonna, take a shot at Zola and take her out? Like, is this gonna be like a top dog thing who can take out the leader? I guess to become the next leader. I was wondering that. I'm like, I could see her doing that, but she went the complete opposite way, where she was like, I'm just gonna take this robot and fly back home. I
Hmm.
was like, that's kind of stupid.
Yeah, she's kind of like, "What? I'm free," but doesn't realize she's with 8 other girls that would likely go after her.
Right, and yeah, again, like we said in the beginning, one of the girls that befriended her is like amazed by her, and she's like, "Oh my God, take me with you to the Magic Kingdom."
Hmm.
And I was laughing like, "Oh my God, Disney!" But
Uh-huh.
but I guess the portal opens, these dragons pop out, and I don't. I guess she got killed by one of the dragons. I assume.
Yeah, it's like she had that moe face going where she's all happy and her mouth is open, and then this beam looks like it just goes right through her, like like through the back to her mouth and kills her.
Yeah, and cuts her mech in half and kills her in like an instant, and that's kind of where the episode kind of ends on that shocker moment. I was like, oh my God, it's. Yeah, they're almost yeah, actually 2 for 2 for deaths now. Each episode's had a death at least in them.
Hmm.
And yeah, Coco died, so I'm gonna assume that the other girl, Miranda's probably gonna have a grudge against her. Like it's your fault that you kind of promised her this, or she looked up to you and now she died because of you. So I guess you have
Yeah.
being a grudge between this new girl, but we'll see. Maybe Angel finally things will click and she'll realize that I have to survive this, fight these dragons and stuff like that.
Hmm. Yeah, I agree. I could see it going that way, considering the personalities of the girls we've seen so far.
Right, yeah. And extras on this episode, they mentioned Dragon, which is like an anagram for Dimensional Rift, Attune, Gargantian, Organic Neotype. I'm like, what the hell? This is
Wow,
so weird.
the words that they picked to make that anagram work is very interesting.
Yeah, like there's like what sounds cool? Gargantian though, then in there they couldn't pick Giant.
They had to give it a proper technical term.
Yeah, one person on Google Post was like, it's kind of like JoJo when they mentioned that the perfect being. I
Hmm.
think they did the same thing on that. And the Yuri in this series obviously means that when your cast is 99% female, you're gonna have Yuri moments. And I know a lot of people complain about that. I know a certain commenter kind of didn't like how she's happy there's a female lead, but not happy how they're treating her. And I'm kind of
Hmm.
like, on the fence with that. I'm like, well, I mean, given the territory, I mean, what all can you do to a female character to, cause trauma to her?
Hmm.
It's gonna be the sexual stuff. Unfortunately, I mean, that's just how it's gonna go. I mean, but I looked at it that way. If you took a male character and did the same thing to him, would it be different? I don't think so. I mean,
Hmm.
it would probably be the
Yeah.
same. I mean, Berserk is the only example I can use. And
Hmm.
does it change Guts a lot? Not really. I mean, he's still, a little bit, but I haven't read past certain things. But that's why my view on it is like, no matter what gender it would have been, it's still the same to me.
Yeah, I agree with that.
And lots of girls, like you said. I mean, there's a lot of death flags for most of these characters we don't care about. So I mean, I think
Hmm.
it's gonna be a recurring thing.
Yeah, we get this every so many episodes. Although I expect, in the next episode, maybe we'll surely get some deaths because they're getting in this first big battle. So we're going to probably see a couple go, and then after that, it might kind of slow down, and then so I'm almost kind of thinking like Valvrave in a sense, where we'll see a couple girls at certain points in the series that kind of get a little close to Ange or someone like that. They'll eventually die off.
Right, yeah, definitely I see that. And the last thing I mentioned, didn't write it down, but it was like I guess the girl that was kind of interrogating Angie the first time, I guess she has a mechanical arm. I didn't notice that.
Hmm.
So I'm like,
Yeah.
there's probably a backstory with that somewhere. I mean, we gotta get something with her, I guess.
Yeah. Is she supposed to be like the second character? Like,
I thought so.
yeah, she hasn't had quite a lot of scenes yet so far for a girl that I think pops up in the opening a bit.
Right, and she did show off like a robot that she had kind of covered up, so which is, I'm assuming is the special robot that Angie will get later. So
Hmm.
yeah, I'm like, I guess she sees potential in Ange, but we'll see. I don't know,
Yeah,
those two kind of don't get along because first impressions of her, the first time she met her, wasn't really that great. So
yeah. Another thing to mention is the costume that
oh
Ange
yeah,
wears
yeah.
is taken from a girl that died in it, Naomi. And she said, first of all, she said what many people would think when they see those costumes, like, this is ridiculous. It's too revealing. And then I'd rather walk naked, and then pushes the girl out naked.
Yeah, and the two girls kind of walk by her like, oh my god, like laughing at her. I'm like,
Hmm.
and then the line that she's like, you need help getting dressed. I'm like, well, she's a princess, so I guess it's only natural. But yeah, I mean, I think the girl that was with her, I don't know her name. Those two kind of hit it off a little bit.
Hmm.
But I mean, I guess I could take it back. She did pull a knife on her, so we'll see how that works. But yeah, that's Cross Ange episode 2. It's interesting. That's all I can say on that.
Yeah, it is. It's for the first two episodes, it's been a lot of shock value
Hmm.
here, especially in this episode where you go from sort of like Ange, in a small sense, Ange being naked to the scene where Zola has her hand in that girl's sort of costume and
Hmm.
feeling her up, and then the sex there, and then the death there. Like it sort of goes on this streak of like doing like salacious stuff for the entire episode. Even there's also that scene where Solo, they were all in the shower, and
Oh
she had a
yeah, I
girl that
forgot.
was basically there, I guess, to wash her vagina.
Right, I think so. It's like, she has all these, I guess you call them concubines, whatever.
Yeah.
That they're all of them are, but also it's like, again, the prison's like, I gotta kind of be nice to most of these people, or I'm not gonna get what I want. So I
Hmm.
can, I can see all these girls having ulterior motives. I mean, it's a given. I mean, they gotta survive, so they gotta suck up to survive.
Hmm. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, going from that, we go to, Gundam G, Reconguista episode 3, called The Pressure of Montero, and I'm still confused on this series overall, but I think we said off
Hmm.
air, since it's Sunrise and it's Gundam, it kind of comes with the territory. It's like it's gonna be a long, 50 episodes. We hope. I think it will be. But yeah.
Yeah. There's one scene where Bellry and Ida or someone else were throwing around a lot of technical terms about like photons and stuff, and I was like, I hope that this scene isn't really important to my enjoyment of the show because I'm not sure what these terms exactly mean.
Right.
Um,
Yeah. I understand that. I'm the same way with that too.
I
And
mean,
yeah.
of course they all mean something, but I mean when you just throw them around consecutive like that, I'll admit some confusion.
Right. Definitely. I could see that. Yeah. And the episode kind of opens up with Bell. He's got out of the G self, and I guess that whole fight happened, and then some of the I guess military guys kind of ride up to him, and they're kind of amazed that he got the move when I guess their R&D department couldn't get the move earlier. So Bell's gonna be pulled into this, obviously into the G self, being I guess explored by the military, and they're gonna find out the secrets behind it and all that. So it's like he's kind of almost getting forced into this, but I guess it's a Gundam. You kind of gotta have the main characters near the Gundam. Yeah, at some point. I mean, it
Hmm.
wouldn't work otherwise.
Yeah, and he kind of knows, but as we kind of see in little bit later in the episode, there's a reason as to how he could be able to pilot it.
Right? Yeah, I think I know. Yeah, I think what you're gonna say. But while that's going on, we have I guess the Armenian army. I think is what it was with
Yeah. Well,
Motaro.
very subtle with that
Yeah,
Marion.
I know, right? It is kind of funny. And yeah, so they're one of their commanders, I guess, is a young guy named Martero, and it's like he has kind of a maybe he's interested in Ada. He's kind of I guess I don't know. Well, I don't know how you'd say it.
Hmm.
Maybe he's just interested in her.
Fascination.
Yeah, he's very yeah that's the word. He's very fascinated by her.
Seems like all those guys are. We saw Cahill in the previous episode.
Right, and it's like there's probably not very many females in the American army, I guess.
Probably, yeah.
And but yeah, his plan is the mission. He's gonna save Ada by himself. When I guess all his under commanders and everyone else was warning him, "Don't do it, don't do it. You're going by yourself to a heavily guarded base." So it's like, are you stupid? But he doesn't
Hmm.
care. He's driven by I guess his interest in Ada, and he wants to save her. And probably if he figures if I save her, maybe she'll owe me a favor, and
Hmm.
get closer to her. But yeah, and yeah, he leaves by himself on this. Yeah, it looks like it almost took a day and a half to get there.
Yeah, it did.
It was pretty far for him, but yeah.
He took a bathroom break during
Yeah,
that.
that was kind of funny. It answered a bunch of questions like, where do you go to the bathroom in a giant robot? Well, when you're in your pilot seat doubles the toilet.
Yeah, I guess they have to make a part for the waste to release from the mech.
Yeah, I'm like, I guess it works like an airplane, I guess. I don't.
Yeah, yeah.
It was still pretty funny though. And while we do that, I guess there's a part where we see Ada kind of messing with a necklace. She's kind of holding it, looking at it. She puts it away, and then I guess the scene before that we had Belle doing the same thing. So
Hmm.
I mean, there's your connection between those two characters, and even in episode I think 2, which was concluded in the first episode, I guess one of the guys was scanning their eyes, and I noticed that Ada's eyes and Belle's eyes were the only ones that lit up on his scan. So
Hmm.
I'm guessing they're gonna do a Kigali Atherin or Kigali Kira thing where they're brother and sister. I'm assuming.
Yeah. I forgot what they specifically called it. Something iris
Yeah.
that looked very similar. But yeah, it does seem like they're related. And also, the necklace is a hint too. But the way the necklace is kind of shaped, I'm thinking ahead, like maybe it's a key to something.
Yeah, it could be that a key to like. 'Cause I know in the ending we see a lot of different modes for
Hmm.
the G self, so I'm assuming that's probably like unlocking the secret of that machine.
Yeah.
And they did show like kind of like I guess like a Trans Am type of effect this week
Hmm.
during I guess the battle scene or I guess kind of escape scene. I don't know what you would call that because she really didn't kill anybody or shoot anyone. She was more like helping everybody and kind of got escorted by Montaro at the end, which is kind of weird. I don't know what they're doing with that, but yeah. But before that, we had all four main characters inside the G self. It was pretty funny.
Yeah, and the cockpit was open for the whole time.
Yeah, I wondered that too. They did the same thing in episode 1 and 2. The cockpit was kind of open. This one's just hanging on. I'm like, get in the damn room, get in the. Oh my god, like the Evangelion thing, but still, it's like four people in that cockpit.
Hmm.
I'm like, Jesus, like how many people can they fit inside that thing?
Yeah, see, I think um, the Norida and Monday were in there, but I guess there's no more room than that.
Right? Yeah, and he had Ada and Belle in there, and
Yeah.
so all four of them kind of like it's just a weird scene. I just thought it was overall weird that how, she goes to helping them, and then Motaro arrives and they just leave with them without anyone else chasing after them. You would
Hmm.
think the military would be like, well, that's our property now. You want it, and chase them, but they didn't do that. So I don't know. Seemed kind of weird. And I don't know what else I can talk about the episode. I mean, it was overall, like I said, just all over the place. But
Yeah.
I'm still interested and invested in it. But
Yeah, I think right now because there's so many invasions going on. We saw Cahill in the last episode and Montero in this episode that there hasn't been that much time to sort of uh, settle down and process all of this information for us who are watching the story unfold. That we're kind of seeing things happen as all of this action is going on. So I think in due time the story should find its legs.
right, yeah, as soon as we find out, who the real threat is, and which side is technically the one we should be rooting for. And I'm
Hmm.
gonna assume here it's probably the American Army. They're probably the good guys in this, while I don't know what the other side is called, but yeah, while I'm gonna guess they're gonna be the bad guys because you have the whole military, they're kind of a dictatorship over there, and there's some with the religious side too. There's a bit of a church influence, so I
Hmm.
could see even being the third faction, the church, being technically the bad guys here. Who are
Hmm. Yeah.
using people for certain missions and things like that to we'll see how it works because we still have Raya Monday, whatever her name is, in. She's kind of a mystery still. It's like, what does she
Hmm.
play in all this? You know, because
Yeah. She
Ada
def.
doesn't know her, so it's like, those two don't know each other, so it's kind of weird.
Yeah. She said Papa. I think it was in this
Hmm.
episode when she was looking at the mech. So that kind of
Mm.
makes me think that her father was building that mech.
Yeah, you could have done that. I could see that because we still don't know anything about her. Where she comes from. We don't know about Belle's dad, and I'm
Hmm.
assuming her Belle's dad's probably in the American army, or he was behind the development of the G Self. It's kind of
Hmm.
like these Gundam stories are kind of, if you've seen one, you can almost kind of guess where some of them would be going, but, I hope, Recon goes somewhere different, maybe it doesn't be as predictable as I think.
Yeah. I agree.
And extra stuff in this episode, Bell did mention the Universal Century, which I don't know much about. I mean, I've only seen a few of the movies. I know Char is a big influence in that series, and, it's, so it's like, they did mention some of that Universal Century stuff. It's kind of interesting, like you said. They did mention that a lot of, like,
Hmm.
scientific terms thrown around, so, yeah.
Yeah. It's. I mean, that's mainly for people like us that are familiar enough with the Gundam series, like Universal Century, and now we've got this new one here that kind of makes it easier for people that have never kind of watched a Gundam to say, okay, here's a show that's in its own century, but they're still referencing stuff, but ultimately that doesn't exactly matter because this is its own century.
Right, yeah, it's like you're not going to see Char magically appear in this series. It's not going to happen because, that's centuries
Yeah.
ago. But yeah, like you said, he's just mentioning that so the old school fans be like, well, I can get into this, and maybe they have kids that don't understand, they want to explain things to them, and things
Hmm.
like that. But yeah, they mentioned it. I mean, it's kind of I guess you call it like a I don't know, fan service for the people that enjoyed the first Gundam. But yeah, that's pretty interesting. I like when they do that. Even though, like you
Hmm.
said, it is confusing right now with all the science terms. It's like, oh, but yeah. So anyway, and next would be like we mentioned earlier, the Gundam machines, whatever develop. They double as toilets. It's kind of funny, how that works out.
It just crumples up his paper, and then it has an automatic, like the hole opens up.
Uh-huh.
Pretty
The only
convenient.
awkward thing I'd say about that is the last scene with Bell. He's with all the girls and he's like, he has to go to the bathroom, I guess, and they cover him up in a blanket and he just sits there and does his business. I'm like, okay, well.
Yeah, that's a pretty funny way to call back to that joke.
Yeah, I was like, it's just so random, but it is what it is. And the last
Hmm.
thing I mentioned in the episode, the animals. Did you notice those? There's
Yeah.
like all kinds of animals, and they're kind of being more cartoony than normal. There's like a cheetah, or I guess it's a cheetah. I don't know what it was. What maybe a jaguar falls from a tree, hits a snake, and both their eyes kind of like bulge out of their heads, like
Hmm.
something you would see out of like I don't know Looney Tunes or something.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, I thought that was kind of it fits a little bit, but
Uh-huh.
it's still kind of weird when you're seeing it, and all of a sudden this wildlife they look very cartoony,
Mhm.
where we don't really see much of that going on with the characters in the series.
Right, and that's kind of me a blessing. I hope they don't do that because I think Gundam doesn't really fit that, goofy
No.
expression series. Like, I know it's not theirs, but Majestic Prince did that, and it kind of turned me off.
Hmm.
But yeah, the animals. I was like, there's alligators. There's a moment. There's a dolphin out of nowhere. I'm like, where's this dolphin? Where on earth are they? It's like they're not. I mean, they could be in Florida maybe, but I'm like, yeah, dolphins aren't
Hmm.
that really wild in the rivers.
Hmm.
And there's like a
Um,
boar and a couple of other animals, but oh, it's so weird.
yeah. And then there's also Naruto constantly saying that Bellry fell in love with first sight with
Oh
Ida.
yeah,
You kind of see the childhood friend there,
yeah,
sort of telling herself that she's okay with with Bellry liking her, but deep down, I bet she really likes him too.
yeah. I mean, there was a moment when I think they jumped to the Gundam where he touched her ass. That's pretty funny.
Yeah, and she was like, "Oh, hands off."
And deep down, she felt like, can do it again. You know? But I mean, what's your opinion about that character? I know a lot of people kind of hated on her first two episodes because she's very in your face.
She's fine. She doesn't really bother me.
Yeah,
She's kind of a fun character. I just don't think she's harmless any to the story.
right. Yeah, I mean, I think in the end it's gonna be Belle and Ada for the most part, kind of carrying the show. But if if
Hmm.
they really are siblings, and people might as well, cut the whole, thinking they're gonna be a, romantic pair, which, I don't want
Yeah.
that either. But I mean, even the way they act together, they kind of act like siblings. They kind of butt heads on their views
Hmm.
and things like that. But yeah, overall it was an okay episode. What do you think on that?
Yeah, it was pretty good. It's you mentioned that the story is all over the place, and I agree with that. But I think the good part is that the series has been very fun to watch. It has kind of it feels like a classic Gundam series with the way some of the visuals look sometime, and a lot of this. I remember watching the first episode, and it sounded like an old Gundam series, but so far it's fun. Hopefully the story will develop into something pretty good over the period of the season, and I'm looking forward to more.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to more. I hope like you said, do something with it. And like you said, eventually the story will, get out and we'll figure out what's going on.
Yeah.
And going from that to another Gundam, which is, very different from Recon and Angie, Cross Angie. It's Gundam Build Fight TRY, Episode 1. I guess it would be a first impression if I didn't do a post on it, but that's fine. And this is the
Hmm.
boy who calls the wind. And I guess you said something about you didn't really see first season much.
Yeah, I had never watched any of the first season, never even really previewed it or anything like that. Always felt like maybe I should get to it sometime. I knew this series was going to come out, and then I just watched this first episode. And it's entertaining. It's pretty fun. And I get the sense from watching it that I don't really have to have seen the previous Build Fighters, maybe except for like a plot point or two here or there that they might call back to. But overall, it was easy to get into and enjoy.
Yeah, I mean, that's how I say to people. I recommend it. If you want a Gundam series that's not, hardcore Gundam, which is based on war, people dying, there's
Hmm.
political stuff involved. You can watch, Build Fight without really even not. I think you can watch it without even knowing any Gundam whatsoever.
Yeah,
I mean, it's
it's
basically.
almost like
Go ahead.
it's almost like Gundam without the political agendas involved.
Right? Yeah, it really is. I mean, and the fights. I mean, I don't know. The fights just are what I look forward to every week. There's some of the I think
Hmm.
most detailed fights I've ever seen in Gundam. That's not, like Recon right now. We haven't seen the big fight with them yet, but yeah, from past
E-
Gundams anyway.
Even just seeing the little bit of the episode that of this episode, I thought I agree that the action looks good, and I'm sure this is something I missed from the first series. But for people that are fans of the Gundam universe and Gunpla, probably seeing a lot of these Gundams fighting against each other is pretty cool. It's almost like dream battles in a
Oh
sense.
yeah, definitely. That's what, and a lot of stuff like you have like the original Gundam would appear in a certain fight, and then you see the God Gundam from G Gundam, I guess the
Hmm.
black one that Domo is master. You would see that one pop up, and then you'd see like a unicorn in the background. You'd see a Zaku fly by. It's just like you said, it's all these franchises in one universe. It's pretty amazing how they can get it, do that and make it work. But yeah, like you said, you don't really know much about the first season. This jumps 7 years in the future after the first season, and we're kind of following. I guess Gunpla kind of exploded, and it's like everywhere. It's televised on TV. There are tournaments on TV, like almost like you would think like maybe Major League Gaming. If ever that ever
Yeah.
explodes, you're gonna see it everywhere, and it kind of has a
Hmm.
little bit, but yeah, the first thing we see is like a big fight, and we follow a new girl named Hoshino Fumiya, and I guess she's gonna be one of the main focuses of the series. And it's kind of interesting seeing a female lead. I know all these shows we've had in this list do have female leads, like Angie is the lead of her series, and Ida kind of in Recon a little bit.
Hmm.
But since it's her, Fumio, she's not gonna be the main focus. I mean, there are all two other characters to focus on, but I think it's still interesting to have her, as a kind of a main point in this episode.
So is a male character the lead, I assume?
Yeah, and I mean, the first season was two main. They're both guys, and the girl kind of tagged along. She wasn't really a main focus in
Oh,
that.
she was like the 1B to his 1A.
Right, yeah, definitely. And now she's gonna become like I guess she's a fighter, and she doesn't really have like the cartoony looking mech, which I think she will later. But yeah,
Yeah.
I think I like her. She's got a different a fun personality, I think.
Yeah, I agree with that. And also doesn't hurt to be cute.
Right, yeah, and image boards. Yeah, I would say careful going on those. She's everywhere if you go on those image boards.
Yeah, I was well aware that the guy's mom from season
Hmm.
one was big with the fan art,
Oh,
so I'm
definitely, yeah.
guessing Hoshino might be big for season two.
Yeah, she's gonna be that, and I guess her role is she's the leader of a gunplug club at her school, which is I guess lacking members. Typical
Hmm.
club stuff we're dealing with here.
Yeah.
And yeah, so she's kind of needing to get new recruits, and that brings in Sekai, who's the redhead of the series, and he's looks a lot like Reiji from the first season. A lot of people kind of were assuming that maybe it's his brother, someone
Ah.
like him. Because I don't Reggie's from a different world. I don't know if you know that or not, but they kind of
Oh.
explored that a little bit. But it's like I'm not sure what this guy's gonna be. But
All
yeah,
right.
one thing is he's like a martial artist, so he's into fighting. And there's a moment where he
Hmm.
shows a picture of his sister. He's like asking someone, "Have you seen this girl?" I was like, "That's a G Gundam reference if I ever saw one." I don't know if you saw G Gundam or not, but yeah, it was pretty funny.
Yeah, it's been a while. I feel like that's one I should know.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that one's just like Domo is basically looking for his brother, and he always has a picture of him, and he always tells people that, "Have you seen this person?" They answer no. He punches them, and they get in a fight. And so I guess
Ah,
that's
okay.
I guess trying to make him like a Domo clone, where he's big in the martial arts and just like the other guy. So I guess it works.
Mhm. All right.
And he's kind of new in town. He's from a small village. He doesn't know much about the real world, and he doesn't know what gunplay is. And when he meets Hoshino, they kind of hit it off. She's kind of like, "Well, this is my chance to create a new person," and she kind of forces him into it. That's pretty funny.
Hmm.
Like
Yeah.
she ties him up and everything. I was like, "Oh my god, this girl is kind of very aggressive." Yeah. So
Yeah, but then she showed him how it works, and he was like, like, wow, this is so cool.
yeah, it was
And
pretty
that's
good.
what got him in.
That was pretty good. And yeah, they're doing like a mock battle, and I guess this other guy he kind of arrives. He's the model club president, and he wants to shut her club down. He doesn't like it. The battling aspect is kind of stupid to him. He just wants to build model kits. That's all he wants to do.
Yeah, it's kind of that's pretty boring, actually. What is his hairstyle? Is that bike helmet hair?
I think so.
Like
Yeah.
that is the weirdest. Like it just looks so perfectly shaped on his head that it kind of looks like a bike helmet.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, I could agree on that. And then
Hmm.
while they're battling, they kind of do this duo thing. I think where Hoshino is gonna fight with Sekai, and both team as a I guess a 2-on-1. And they're fighting, and
Yeah.
he beats the other guy's ass so fast. It was pretty funny actually. And the other guy
Hmm.
was using like I think from I think Double O Gundam. I think he was using. I think that's what he was at like a bright neon green version.
Oh yeah. What was the one that Sekai
Oh, the
used?
Zaku. I forgot. I think someone called it a Dom. I think is what they call it.
Okay. Oh, Doms.
But
Yeah.
yeah, I
It's
forgot to mention that part where yeah he found a. I guess Hoshino offers to train him like they pick a robot from Gundam from the model kit, the side, and he finds a trophy that Seiji and the other guy won in season one. And I guess underneath it he finds a hatch and it opens and this like you said this suit falls out and he's kind of like this is different. I guess he picks it out and uses
all right.
that, which is
Okay.
kind of weird. I mean I didn't expect that. I was thinking is he gonna pick a Gundam off the shelf and but they know they went right for the I guess a different one. And so
And apparently he kind of knows to hide it from Hoshino because yeah, I think he puts the trophy behind his back or something and just sort of pulls it out to show her like, oh, I like this one.
yeah, and she's like that one, like okay, and they battle for a bit, and guess like I said, the other guy arrives and they kind of fight, and Sekai kind of holds his own and beats him, but eventually someone else arrives, which is the main girl from the first season, or I guess her little brother. He's in high school now, and I guess he builds model kits. He doesn't really fight anymore. I guess he finds the battles to be boring, and I guess he got burned out
Mm-hmm.
by it. So he's not really interested in that anymore. And for some reason, he jumps in the fight and helps the president of the other club, which is kind of weird. I'm like, if you don't like battling, what are you doing here? But
And then helping a guy that doesn't like battling them.
right, yeah, it's kind of I guess. But then it's like I guess how else do you introduce him into the club and get him battling again? But it was kind of funny watching that. And then the biggest moment of the episode, we have Sekai's Gundam getting his machine getting destroyed by Yuma, and eventually the armor cracks, and then through the armor you see a suit emerge, and it's like a Gundam. It's like I guess a burning build fight, or I guess what they call it, burning build something. But yeah, I
Yeah.
guess again another G Gundam thing with him. I guess that's why he's going to be a melee fighter, and that's kind of cool. But what did you think of that whole scene? The armor breaking and
hmm Yeah, that was really cool how they put it together. The music was good and the animation was, and it was just this moment where it was like, oh crap, that I'm blanking on that guy's name, but oh, he's in trouble now. He's
yeah.
got he's got this burning Gundam that he's gonna karate chop and break him or whatever.
Yeah, he was. He jumps in. He's gonna fight him, and they get interrupted by Sekai's sister, who kind of steps into the field. And I've always wondered, like, what happens when someone kind of steps on the platform? I guess it pauses the match, and she kind of drags Sekai off, like like she was looking for him, and they kind of leave. And that's when Hoshino was kind of like, wow, I want him in my club because he shows so much, I guess,
hmm
potential. And obviously because he found this rare Gundam that the main kid from season one built. So it's like, I guess that's her connection. It's like she wants that to be in her club. She's like, well, I'm gonna make these guys on my team. So it's kind of interesting.
hmm So yeah, that hearing some of this stuff now is making me want to go back and eventually watch season one. Uh, but it's good to know, having watched this first episode and sort of talking about it a little bit, that I can kind of watch both concurrently. That I don't have to stop everything now and check out Build Fighters one.
Right? Yeah, you can kind of jump right in this one, and it's a lot of it's self-explanatory, not as complex as maybe like a regular Gundam with all the techno babble. This is more like you model kit, battle with it, and that's kind of what the theme is. But in the end, it's more about the characters, how they interact, and how they view this game as it's not just a game to them. A lot of them view it as it's a lifestyle, and it's something it's more than a hobby, but basically, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, MLG is a good comparison for it. The way it looks and sort of the way the game plays and how it's kind of become this thing on media, like they're showing it on television, and I'm sure people are watching events online.
Oh yeah, like the biggest ones right now is like League of Legends. They're like all over the place, and there's people winning like millions of
hmm
dollars in these tournaments, and yeah, it's I guess it's the best comparison you could use for MLG, sorry, to this and Gundam Build Fight, which is not necessarily the same, but I mean it's almost the same. Battling for money, and again, people don't see it as just a hobby. They're actually doing it as a lifestyle or as a job, so it's kind of interesting. And for the extra with this episode, like I did a lot of G Gundam references. I mean, if you don't know them, that's fine. It's not really a crucial part of the episode. It's not like if you don't understand who he's looking for in the picture, you're not going, oh, well, I can't watch this anymore. It's just I think it's like a tie-in, like a fan service thing. They're just showing it off. Like, hey, look at this. And
Yeah.
in the first 5 minutes, there's a big battle. And my favorite part of the episode is when they have these massive battles, is finding each of these mechs and Gundams from each different series, going, oh, I know where that's from. That's from that. And in the first episode, I think we had a lot of Zaku's running around. We had, I think, the red comet from Unicorn, I think, was in there. I saw a brief shot of him.
Yeah, I'll have to go back and look at that. I might have missed that
Yeah,
one.
that one there was there, and they had this giant samurai-looking armor. I'm not sure what that one was, but it was kind of ridiculous. It was just basically like a Titan almost. It was just huge. That's one. It's pretty funny. And again, like I said earlier, there's a female lead in this Gundam. You know, she may not be the main focus, but she's one of the focuses of the series. And I think that's
Hmm.
kind of interesting. You know, past Gundams don't really have many females, you know, that do anything in the series for me.
Hmm. Yeah. You kind of hope that with excuse me, some of these main series, like you look at Gundam G, Reconguista with Bellry, and you see so many others like Gundam Double O with Setsuna, that you kind of hope that at some point in a modern Gundam series, that a female takes the lead in one of those. But guess what? For now, we'll take what we can get with Hoshino and Try.
Right? Yeah, that's true. That's true. And again, the battle animation. You know, I think that's something I look forward to most in these episodes. Just seeing the moment where the animation and the fight scenes are just really amazing. I'm like, I always scratch my head like, why don't they use this animation in like regular Gundam on some of these stuff? But I guess since Build Fight maybe because it's shorter, they can get away with maybe more animation. I'm not sure. I guess
Hmm.
that's how it would work.
Yeah. And a lot of the other stuff in the show that they're animating, I guess there's not really that, it's not difficult to do because you're just drawing real life scenes and settings and characters, that you're not busy drawing these extravagant set pieces and, these, what this planet looks like in space and stuff, that maybe it's kind of easier for them to focus more on these battle sequences that look really cool.
Yeah, I can see that. You know, instead of doing a whole complete 25-minute battle scene, they're only doing maybe
Mhm.
like 15, maybe 10-minute battle scenes, if any. But I think that when they get to the world tournament, which they mentioned that before, that I guess it's 2 months before the first tournament, and I guess they're gonna eventually gonna have to train, Sekai how to do the pilot stuff, and eventually Yuma's gonna join. So all these three characters are gonna come together as a team, which they didn't really have in season one. It was more like one-on-one fights. But I guess this season's going with a three-on-three battle type system, and I think that's interesting.
Mhm.
So I guess it means more battle times, more I guess different machines that are gonna be fighting each other. And the only thing I mentioned last of this is, we do see a lot of young kids doing these build fight tournaments and things. In the first season, we had a lot of adults that did it too, a lot of older people that were into it. So I'm hoping we
Mhm.
see maybe some more adult characters back in the first season, maybe some more females in this that are as passionate as about build fighting as Hoshino is.
Yeah.
So it's gonna be interesting.
Yeah, I guess right now we were in school for the first
Hmm.
episode, and as the events start getting bigger, um, I guess we'll see more of those adult
Right,
characters.
definitely. And I think that's pretty much the episode. I mean, I know you haven't really seen much of it, but any final thoughts on that?
It's good. I'm entertained, and I think that it should be mentioned that a big part of what makes Build Fighters so interesting is those battles and the animation in them. If you look at a description for the series and you see, oh, it's gunpla and people who do gunpla, like on the surface, that doesn't really sound like much, but having seen this episode, I got to see it in practice, and that, oh, it's actually kind of like a game they're playing, and that's kind of entertaining. And to animate it the way that they do adds to that entertainment.
Yeah, definitely, I would agree on all that. I mean, it's just like I said at the beginning. It's like it's cool seeing these crossovers that that gives you dream battles that we have video games that show it. You have the Gundam
Hmm.
games that show like the Freedom versus a Zaku or whatever. And this one actually kind of puts that into animation and gives it a story somewhat. And it's
Hmm.
just cool seeing how they can take even like a Wing Gundam, they can modify it to make it a different color scheme, and it's interesting how they implement the fighting and the build. I guess the model kits from the same thing. How they can some people can make original a suit out of anything. It's kind of cool.
Hmm.
And I'm still interested about the burning fight. That mech or machine. Yeah, and even if we're gonna see maybe the two mains from the first season, maybe they're stopped by or maybe we see them in the tournament. But yeah, it was fun.
Hmm. Did they mention anything like this takes place this many years after or
It was
whatever? Did they
it,
not
it
do
was
that?
just 7 years basically difference between season one
Oh,
and season
okay.
two.
So yeah, so those guys would be in their mid 20s.
Right, yeah, they probably would be. And so we'll see what happens with them. I mean, it'd be cool to see them appear, maybe them fight the main dude, and the whole master and student thing. Maybe we see that maybe.
Mm.
But yeah, anyway, that's been these three mech shows. I mean, I know a lot of people are probably like, "Oh, we gotta listen to this long podcast," but like I said, you can skip ahead to certain things if you don't want to hear. Let's talk about Ange and all that stuff. So
Yeah, and I think for the most part, you and I are gonna stick with these three shows. Um, Cross Ange is definitely my least favorite of these three so far, but it's got there's something about it that's just entertaining enough to me to have some interest in and maybe see if at some point during the series it kind of settles down a bit and maybe starts to do some things better.
yeah,
But but yeah.
yeah. For me, I like it. Like this thing, you get a variety of everything. You get your dramatic, serious, shocking stuff with Cross Ange. Then you get your kind of fun, adventurous side of Recon. And then you get the goofy side of Build Fight, which is a lot. They use a lot of comedy in that series. So I mean, you get like a blend of everything almost with all these three gun with mixed shows. It's pretty interesting.
Hmm.
And I guess we'll see you guys next week for these three, and hopefully we get a good response. But we'll see what happens. And yeah, see you guys next time.
See ya.